Our main character, Lockhart, is a young go-getter completely absorbed in his job, with little regard for anything else. So dedicated to his career, he even stashes his mom in a retirement home, deeming her a distraction. Fast forward to a pivotal moment. Lockhart's summoned to a high-stakes meeting with the big shots at the company. The CEO, Pembroke, is MIA, supposedly enjoying a luxurious spa retreat in Switzerland. In a twist, Lockhart reads a letter from Pembroke, dropping bombshells left and right. Pembroke's chilling out in Switzerland, all right, but he's not planning on coming back. The letter spills the beans on the company's shady financial dealings and outright disapproves of their merger plans with a finance giant. To top it off, Pembroke warns the board not to bother him. Faced with this mess, the board turns to Lockhart, handing him the mission impossible. Bring Pembroke back or take the blame for the entire scandal. No wiggle room for Lockhart, he reluctantly agrees and jets off to Switzerland. Lockhart lands and gets chauffeured up the hill by Enrico, who spills the local tea on why this spa attracts the jet-setting elite. Mid-conversation, an irate villager hurls a drink at their car, but Enrico shrugs it off, hinting that it's a regular occurrence. He drops a bombshell about the dark history between the villagers and the hill's former owners, an aristocratic family from 2 centuries ago. The last Baron's twisted obsession with his sister led to a forbidden union, defying the church and sparking the villagers' wrath. The result? An attack that ended with the illicit couple burned alive and the entire castle leveled. Post-tragedy, the place got a facelift, morphing into a spa for the affluent, searching for a cure for their existential void. Cut to Lockhart reaching the spa, only to discover visiting hours are a thing of the past. Undeterred, he schedules a meeting with the manager and steps outside for a call. There, he spies a peculiar basement window. Later, when Lockhart finally meets the manager, he cuts to the chase, eager to have a word with Pembroke. After indulging in mysterious vitamin droplets from a distinctive blue bottle, the manager spills the spa's secrets to Lockhart. The key to their top-notch treatments? Shielding guests from the harsh realities of modern life. The spa sits atop an ancient aquifer believed to possess rejuvenating powers. As Lockhart peruses room pictures, he spots a bandaged man standing before the main building, piquing his curiosity. The manager, interrupting his thoughts, schedules a rendezvous after 7 p.m. when Pembroke finishes his daily treatment. A gulp of water later, and Lockhart's off, thanking the manager. However, their descent from the hill takes an unexpected turn. A deer dashes out of the woods, colliding with the car and lodging itself in the windshield. Chaos ensues, and Enrico loses control, veering into a ditch. Fast forward 3 days, and Lockhart regains consciousness in a room at the same spa. Soon, Vollmer, the director, appears, revealing Lockhart's broken leg from the crash. He reassures Lockhart that the firm's been notified and proposes trying out the spa's treatments during his enforced stay. Post-Vollmer's departure. Lockhart sips water while observing a man barricading the mysterious basement window he'd spotted earlier. His shock peaks when he discovers a parasitic creature drifting in his glass. Disturbed, Lockhart covertly slips out of his room, tracking down Pembroke in the bathhouse. He implores the CEO to return home with him, but Pembroke insists he's unwell and can't leave. A dip in the water triggers a sudden resurgence of Pembroke's interest in the stock market, as if breaking free from a spell. With newfound clarity, Pembroke agrees to head back to New York and resume his company leadership. Ecstatic, Lockhart readies himself and calls for a taxi. While awaiting Pembroke, he encounters amateur historian Victoria Watkins. She unveils the remnants of the church where, legend has it, the Baron executed a priest. Pilgrims flocked for the miracles tied to the holy water. Lockhart spills the beans about the Baron's bloodline fixation, prompting Victoria to delve deeper. Next on Lockhart's agenda is meeting Hannah, the institution's youngest patient. She boasts special status, permitted to take the peculiar blue bottle of vitamins, the same one as Volmer and the staff consume. As Pembroke remains a no-show and mysteriously vanishes from his quarters, Lockhart confronts Volmer. The doctor claims Pembroke's condition worsened, necessitating a move to the next phase of treatment. Lockhart, skeptical, accuses Volmer of deceiving patients to perpetuate their suffering for financial gain. In a dramatic turn, Lockhart's nose starts bleeding, and he collapses. Rushed to Volmer's clinic for tests, Lockhart spots Hannah's photo on the doctor's desk. Questioned about it, Volmer cryptically mentions her traumatic past. Reading Lockhart's medical report, Volmer recommends treatment, and the reluctant American reluctantly agrees. In a sly move, Lockhart swipes Pembroke's medical file during the distraction. The treatment unfolds in a water tank, but a lapse in attention results in a tank teeming with eels, sending Lockhart into a panic. Struggling to escape, his breathing tube is yanked by an eel, and he nearly drowns until rescued in the nick of time. An indignant Lockhart gripes about the eels, but to his shock, they vanish from the water. Back in his room, Lockhart delves into Pembroke's file. Glancing out the window, he spots a man escorting a patient into the former church. The following morning, Lockhart turns to his historian confidant, Watkins, seeking information about the mysterious church. While she's unsure of its current use, she corroborates Lockhart's suspicions about the Baron's scandalous affair with his sister. Shockingly, the villagers didn't torch the place due to the illicit relationship, but rather to halt the Baron's grotesque medical experiments on the peasants. The gruesome details involve disfigured bodies resembling Egyptian mummies dumped in the fields. Terrified for their lives, the villagers united, orchestrating a brutal demise for the royal couple. Lockhart deduces that the Baron's twisted experiments might have been a desperate quest to cure the ailing Baroness. As Victoria wraps up her tale, a male nurse whisks her away for her treatment. Undeterred, Lockhart explores the surroundings and spots Hannah pedaling her bike. A light bulb moment strikes, and he proposes a deal, a tour of the town in exchange for a ballerina toy. Mentally childlike, Hannah readily agrees. After a joyful ride, they pause at a local tavern for food. To Lockhart's surprise, Enrico is there, having survived the crash and received a new car from the wellness spa. The reason behind this generous gesture, however, remains shrouded in mystery. In the midst of bonding with Hannah over beers, Lockhart learns about her tragic past. Her mother perished in a fire, and she believes her father will retrieve her once she's cured. Hannah lends Lockhart some of her vitamins before he departs, leaving her at the bar to seek out Peter, the town's lone doctor. Though a vet by profession, Peter scrutinizes Pembroke's medical file, unveiling a troubling detail. The CEO's teeth are falling out, likely a consequence of chronic dehydration. This puzzles Lockhart, considering the spa's emphasis on water consumption. He draws connections to the Baron's experiments and the dried-up bodies in the field. Despite the belief that the Baron perished in a fire 2 centuries ago, people now flock to the spa seeking a cure, much like the Baron sought a remedy for his ailing wife. Peter reveals the Baroness's ailment was infertility, excusing himself to tend to a dying cow. To Lockhart's horror, the sick cow had imbibed sewage water from the spa, and Peter's intervention results in a grim revelation. A stillborn calf and a cluster of eels spill from the animal's stomach. Returning to the bar, Lockhart contacts his New York boss, discovering that Volmer never reported the accident to higher-ups. Furious, the boss orders Lockhart to bring Pembroke back within the next 24 hours. Livid, Lockhart confronts Hannah, demanding answers about the spa's restrictions, Pembroke's whereabouts, and the mysterious blue bottle vitamin. Unresponsive, Hannah's silence fuels Lockhart's rage, culminating in a brawl with a fellow patron. In a dire twist, Lockhart finds himself on the brink of danger, facing potential demise. However, Volmer intervenes just in time, sparing him from a fatal outcome. Without causing a commotion, Vollmer escorts Lockhart back to the spa alongside the two patients. Later that night, Lockhart observes staff members transporting patients into the church once again. His troubles intensify as a tooth begins to loosen, prompting him to report the issue at the reception. While the nurse fetches medicine, Lockhart seizes the opportunity to peruse her file, uncovering Pembroke's room. Along his journey, Lockhart encounters Watkins, disclosing the resurgence of the Baron's experiments. In return, she reveals a harrowing truth. The Baroness wasn't infertile, she was pregnant on the ill-fated wedding night. The baby was forcibly removed and cast into an aquifer before the Baroness met her fiery end. Lockhart locates Pembroke's supposed room only to discover the old CEO and other patients submerged in water tanks. Attempting a rescue proves futile as Vollmer interrupts, catching Lockhart in the act. As punishment, he immobilizes Lockhart and drills a hole in his front tooth. The scene shifts, showing Lockhart miraculously escaping the spa and heading to town with Enrico. Seeking justice, he rushes to the local police station, divulging the horrifying experiments conducted by Vollmer. The vile director is summoned to the station, where Lockhart accuses him of perpetuating the Baron's experiments and causing Pembroke's demise. Yet, Vollmer turns the tables, accusing Lockhart of succumbing to Watkins' supposed conspiracy theories. To further bewilder him, Vollmer brings in Pembroke, alive and well. Confounded by the turn of events, Lockhart begins to question his sanity, entertaining the idea that he may have hallucinated the entire incident. In a bizarre turn, he willingly returns to the spa with Vollmer, undergoing various treatments that gradually mold him into a mirror image of Pembroke. Convinced of his own unwell state, Lockhart decides to stay for a cure. However, a moment of clarity strikes as Lockhart attempts to write a note to his employers. Breaking a glass, he discovers his cast conceals no broken leg. Shattered illusions propel him to breach the church gate, unveiling Vollmer's sinister laboratory. Descending into an underground realm, Lockhart stumbles upon a pool where lifeless bodies are discarded, serving as sustenance for eels. Among the corpses lies Mrs. Watkins, silenced for possessing too much knowledge. Unearthed by a worker, Lockhart subdues him and escapes. Meanwhile, Hannah experiences a pivotal moment in the pool, marking her first period. Eels encircle her without harm, yet a panicked Hannah flees, encountering Lockhart in her frantic escape. Attempting to elucidate the grim reality, Lockhart is met with a frightened blow from Hannah before she bolts away. In the aftermath, Hannah approaches Vollmer during his dinner with patients, followed closely by a vociferous Lockhart. Shouting accusations about Vollmer's deceit and deliberate contamination of the water, Lockhart's fervent warning falls on deaf ears as the patients dismiss him. Their collective skepticism turns into aggression, overpowering Lockhart, causing him to lose consciousness. He awakens confined in a chamber. Vollmer later approaches Lockhart, unveiling the macabre truth. The eels residing in the spa's aquifer live for centuries, whereas the water, considered toxic for humans, is the cause of the patient's illnesses. Centuries prior, the Baron discovered a filtration process, turning the water potable. Yet this method involved using living humans as filters, subjecting them to immense pain. Unmoved by the suffering of countless unwilling peasants, the Baron persisted until meeting his demise at the hands of an enraged mob. With this revelation, Vollmer forces a tube down Lockhart's throat, allowing the eerie eels to enter his stomach. The unsettling process filters out vitamins from Lockhart's digestive system, supposedly granting immortality. In the aftermath of the unsettling procedure, Lockhart undergoes a transformation, aligning with the other patients who are entrenched in the delusion of being unwell. Meanwhile, Vollmer presents Hannah with a new dress and marries her. Now that she has experienced her first period, Vollmer aims to continue their bloodline through copulation. In a moment of clarity, Lockhart revisits Watkins' notes in his room. A portrait catches his attention, depicting a man with bandages holding hands with a little girl, Hannah. Shattering the portrait, Lockhart unravels a startling revelation. Vollmer is the Baron, and Hannah is his daughter. Somehow surviving the fire, Vollmer lived 2 centuries under various disguises while maintaining his gruesome experiments under the facade of a wellness spa. He perpetrated heinous acts, extracting vitamins from innocent victims to fuel his immortality. The same concoction was given to Hannah, explaining her belief in being special. In the subsequent scene, Vollmer takes Hannah to a room, intending to harm her. Fortunately, Lockhart intervenes just in the nick of time, enraging Vollmer, who finally unveils his scarred face. An intense altercation ensues, with Vollmer attacking Lockhart. Swiftly, Lockhart ducks, setting the room ablaze. The fire rapidly engulfs the castle. Despite Lockhart's attempts to free Hannah, Vollmer retaliates, dragging him toward the eel pool's edge in a final bid to eliminate him. However, a now aware Hannah manages to free herself. In a courageous move, she strikes Vollmer with a shovel and shoves him into the pool, where the voracious eels await their meal. Lockhart and Hannah make their escape just as the patients and staff evacuate the burning castle. Taking Hannah's bike, they ride away into the night. On the road, they encounter Lockhart's bosses, who've arrived to assess the situation. Inquiring about Pembroke, Lockhart asserts that the old man is gone. Despite their insistence, he refuses to join them in the car. The movie concludes as Lockhart continues riding into the night, sporting a sinister grin on his face.